Hey everybody, welcome to So Many Sequels, your book club for movies. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
And today we put Santa Claus on trial. To wrap up So Many Santas, we are talking about the 1947 film Miracle on 34th Street, starring Edmund Gwenn as Santa Claus, Kris Kringle. Young Natalie Wood as Susan. A lot of history with this movie. We'll be talking about it. Oscar winner for Santa Claus, Oscar winner, Best Actor. This was a Best Picture nominee. Christmas movie, Best Picture nominee. Miracle on 34th Street. Kris Kringle, seemingly the embodiment of Santa Claus, is asked to portray the jolly old fellow at Macy's following his performance in the Thanksgiving Day Parade. His portrayal is so complete that many begin to question if he truly is Santa Claus, while others question his sanity. David, what was box office in 1947?
Well, let's start with it released the weekend of June 11th, 1947, so way before Christmas.
That's crazy.
But on an estimated budget of only $248,000, which, I mean, was a considerable sum maybe for 1947.
Sure.
However, by modern standards, that's a real small budget.
Yeah.
And, box office records weren't kept, the same way that they were sort of post-1980. But I did find an article from January 7th, 1948 in Variety. Luckily, they got these archives up still. And they have a list of the top grossers of 1947. And it is reported that Miracle on 34th Street ended up making about $2,750,000 during its run, which is good enough to be the number 45 movie of the year. Number 1 movie of the year was Best Years of Our Lives, followed by Duel in the Sun.
Those old classics.
Other great movies on that list as well. It's a Wonderful Life was also released in 1947, which we reviewed before. For So Many Santas, it was the number 27 movie of the year.
Sweet. This was my movie to pick, and I kind of picked it because, oddly enough, I was thinking about the remake that came out in 1994, I think. Because that's a movie I can remember watching as a kid. So I remember watching that movie a lot, but I haven't watched it in many years. And so for a moment, I considered choosing that one. And I thought, well, it's a remake. Let me look at the remake. Let me look at the original. And once I saw it had all these Academy Award nominations and wins, saw how much it is revered over time, I thought, we got to watch the original. We got to see this. So that's really why I picked it. It's a classic that we hadn't gotten to yet, and I feel like it's off the beaten path of Christmas movies. My expectations were low, I think. Not in a negative way, but just in I don't know what to expect from a movie that is about Santa being put on trial, but is also revered as a great movie with great performances. So I don't know. My expectations, I tried to have an empty slate. What about you guys? Have either of you seen this?
I had seen the remake quite a few times. Even within the last couple years, I rewatched the remake with David Attenborough and Mara Wilson. I think Dylan McDermott or Dermot Mulroney, one of those two guys. My expectation was really just I know I really enjoyed the remake. How similar was this going to be? How loyal was that remake to this one? So that was kind of my only expectation going in was I think I'll probably like this. I'm sure it's great. I know that there are many people who have voiced to me in online discussions in the past that the remake they should have never remade it. That the first one is a classic and shouldn't have been touched. So I was interested to see how that pans out.
I have never seen either one. I have not seen the 47 or the 94 one. So I also had no idea, truthfully, what this movie was about. I certainly didn't know it was a court movie about Santa. So I had no expectations really going in, kind of like Josh.
So essentially, this guy, Kris Kringle, has been hired to play Santa at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which, fun fact, I learned in my research, Macy's didn't want to participate in the remake because Macy's was like, nope, did it once and it's perfect. Why would we do it again?
And the store gimbals also lend themselves to it, even though they don't look that good.
Yeah. So he's playing Santa. There is some really cool moments where it's is he magic or is he just really good? When he starts speaking Dutch to the little Dutch girl, completely unprepared. And then you got some parents who are this fucking guy, he's not Santa Claus. Who is he saying he's Santa Claus to these kids?
No, there's definitely this thing that we've run across many times in our journeys through various Christmas movies, where there is this push and pull between the fantasy of is Santa real and the reality, the adults who don't believe anymore and that kind of thing, right? There's this push and pull. Santa himself is a character in this, like even early on, you know, you could be going back and forth, like, is it real? Is he not real? You know, what's the truth here? But as a character, he comes to New York because he feels like he needs to reinstill some of the spirit of real Christmas back into people. This is so funny. It was so funny to me and my wife. We were watching it, and Santa specifically calls out the idea of commercialism.
Yeah.
And I'm like, commercialism in the 40s is a crazy early time to be talking about the commercialism of Christmas, because I felt like that was the case when I was growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s. So for it to have already been a little out of hand by the mid-1940s, that's kind of crazy to me.
That's the part that struck me too, because the way that he tries to instill and does successfully to be like, hey, this is the time of year when we should be helping these people find the things, right? That is the best policy to do. Do it store-wide. I loved all of that. It was the issue where I was like, let's do it all the time because then they'll love us longer and blah, blah, blah. I was like, you listen, obviously that's what the point was, but that's what they all be doing. And as far as Kris Kringle himself, I never questioned whether the man was Santa. I could tell. His beard was perfect. He spoke Dutch excellently for no reason. Also, again, we live in a world in 2026 now where so many people, adults, have decided to believe in a fantasy world that you don't get to tell a kid that Santa Claus is not real.
As we get a little further into this discussion, I want to come back, Garrett, since you haven't seen it, Josh and I can kind of talk about sort of the differences between this and the remake if we want a little bit. But something that I found to be very interesting, again, about this and how far back it is that there was a lot of, I think, realism in it, in how a situation like this might unfold. You know, like, everybody kind of accepts, like, okay, he's an old guy, he wants to play Santa Claus, that's fine. They kind of accept that a little bit at first. But then as some sort of red flags start to pop up, they start thinking about mental health. They start thinking about, is there a
gaslighting psychologist? Mm-hmm. That's what you say, a red flag?
That's part of it. Well, I mean, just like when he says, like, I am Kris Kringle, and he says, like, and he lists his next of kin as being reindeer. Like, there's some things where they're like, okay, hang on. Have him go talk to the psychologist real quick. Now, psychologist, he's a rat bastard if I've ever seen one. But it was just interesting to me that, like, to see those same topics that honestly probably would be talked about today being talked about in a different way, in a different time. And so I found it to be a really fun look at how this topic was handled. And I think that even when they get later in, they start talking about, like, the when they get to the courtroom and they start talking about, like, the political implications of of this ruling, I was like, you know, darn it, this feels like that's not inaccurate. Like, this is it's not just like they're just poking fun at politics. I'm like, no, I feel like that would be a pretty realistic response from these people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a part where what's his name is like convinced the judge not to take on the case because of the implications on his political career.
Yeah,
he's
Fred
like,
Mertz.
He's like, what are you talking about? And then his own wife's like, how could you put Santa on trial?
What I liked about going back, and obviously we should do this more, and I think that's on our list for this coming year, is to go back and look at some of these older movies that have influenced a lot. But I know about the remake, but what I have never heard is how much influence this seems to have had on the original The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. There was so much that I saw from this as far as, like, somebody who is becoming Santa Claus, telling people that they're Santa Claus, and then adults all of a sudden just being like, this is not okay. Why? Who cares? That's what I keep coming back to, and like that, it was very interesting to see that and have that same kind of feeling from 1947 to 1994 in that regard, or 93, whatever that came.
And they could make it in 2026, and it would be the same. People, for some reason, are really like about people doing something good, just because. They assume there's you have some kind of weird motive or something.
There's some ulterior motive, or there's something maybe off about you. Are you really as safe as you claim to be?
Right. There's implication, at least in the '94 remake, that where they're like, okay, something's up with this guy and kids.
Yeah.
That's like that they don't touch in this one, obviously, but they even take it to that level in the remake where they're like, anyone who would want to give gifts to gifts to kids must have some kind of problem in his head.
And again, that's the thing that I don't fully understand, because again, as a culture, we all participate in Santa Claus for some regard. We encourage the belief in Santa Claus until we don't.
Yeah.
And then why? You know, again, that's the question, because you become uncomfortable. You lose that sense of childlike wonder. Santa's a season, friends. It is supposed to be a magical moment. Yes, the idea of one Santa existing is crazy. He's got many people who help and report. That's the way it's got to be. And, you know, it's just... Ooh.
You know, but something else, too, about this movie, and as we kind of pushed through to the next, like the other levels of it, is that this is not a Christmas movie that relies on a lot of what's the best word for this? I guess just like effects and things. Like there's no sleigh, there's no reindeer, there's no like magic. They don't do any sort of like twinkling things. They keep it very grounded.
I don't remember there being a snow. There's no like Christmas there's not a lot of Christmas scenery even outside.
Santa doesn't do anything magic. He doesn't disappear. He doesn't reappear. Like there's no appearance of elves or anything. Like it's very boots on the ground, realistic, and like keeping you from just being, because like I think it just asks you to accept that this guy is Santa Claus, and we're not going to do anything that would directly just make you go like, oh, obviously Santa Claus, he disappeared. Like they just like it just works on you that way.
It took out the commercialism. Like it made it the realistic version. You know, you look at Klaus. Klaus is another one that came out, an incredible Netflix Christmas movie. And it is also pretty grounded. There's some mysticism there, but like he's a dude. He is a dude, and that is the Lord of Santa. It's not mystical. And, you know, it has become that because you can sell toys. And all of that was stripped out, and it was just Santa we all accept at one point in time in our lives is real. And then at some point in time in our lives, we accept that he's not real, or they are not real. And then you're faced with that situation of you can't have it both ways if you're willing to take it away from somebody.
That's what's great about the ending. You know, I laughed at it because it is kind of silly how the defense brings in a bunch of letters from the North Pole or whatever that are addressed to Santa, and their argument as well, the U.S. Postal Service has decided that this man is Santa Claus, so therefore he must be. And the judge is like, well, yeah, if the U.S. government says so, then I guess he is. And that's kind of, it's almost a cop-out, because he doesn't declare that this man is Santa per se. He is kind of just like, what if this is just fine? Like, what if we just allow this because, like, well, they say it's fine, so maybe we should say it's fine.
It's a perfect out for him because, as he illustrates, it's sort of a lose-lose. He either looks a little crazy because he sits there and says, "Well, this guy's Santa Claus," and now he's the judge that has declared some guy to be Santa Claus, or he's a monster for saying there is no Santa Claus.
Right, but the ultimate message I take from it is, he doesn't ultimately make a decision. He just says, he just accepts that it's been made.
He doesn't want to make a decision.
Perfect. Right. He's able to pass the buck up to the federal government.
Everybody can just accept.
Which is perfect.
I got it. Harry, that's what he's like.
I'm going to mention this too because it's very interesting to me. They introduced that character and like the prosecutor. They're introduced very late into the story. Like this movie suddenly becomes a courtroom drama.
Yeah.
It was interesting to me to see these characters, and I felt like a lot of this. There were characters and there were moments that it felt like an old TV show. It felt like the Andy Griffith Show or something like that, where like these characters had very specific storylines that only they're involved in, and you know, like the judge and they're not really connected with what's going on with this little girl. And then you have like these guys at the mail, like these guys at the post office, and they're reading about the story and like, let's send the mail to this guy so we don't have to deal with it. Like it's all very, it feels very disconnected at times, but not in a way that breaks the movie. Like it's just everybody gets their little moments.
And that's the thing that, you know, the storytelling, the pacing. This movie was a little over 90 minutes, and I think I watched it what felt for 2 days, but it was just the time frame of the movie. Like I just watched it through. But it felt like I had watched days worth. They felt like I had followed along them on this entire journey in real time.
For sure. For sure.
And again, that's not a fault of the movie itself. It's just the different style, the way movies have changed. The other issue that I had with it, as far as some of the way that it was made, is there was like and I get what they were doing, especially in the courtroom aspect of it, but Susie and Doris, all of that was so black and white. It gave me like, hey, here's how the thing of the day works. The news, like there was no like reality to them because they were just unable in an unbelievable way to believe in any kind of fantasy. And so that was the issue that I had with a lot of that too, is that it was just so, forgive the pun, but black and white.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get that.
I want to call out a couple other characters. We mentioned one of them, but Porter Hall, the actor, I believe, plays Granville Sawyer, the psychologist.
Oh, I hated that guy.
Man, I tell you what.
I hated him.
Great performance at being a weasel.
Insane that Macy's would have a psychologist also. What do you mean he's the store psychologist?
That must have been the closest thing to an HR rep.
Like, what do you mean you can just send him what do you mean you can, is this like, I know this is this is very post World War II, and it's deep into FDR administrations, and I'm like, could they just mental evaluate you at work back then? That's crazy.
Macy's got that kind of money. I bet they could.
They just said, put him in an institution, and they did.
Yeah, straight to the institution, and he got out pretty easily too.
He did.
That character was really on edge. Really cracked me up. I mean, he's such a weasel, such a bad guy, and he does eventually push Santa into mild assault of bonking him on the head with a cane or umbrella. I'm not sure which. I think it was his cane. I like that. You know, like the mom and the lawyer character that was dating him, Fred Gailey. Yeah. They felt very much like they were trying to evoke, like a, sort of that classic movie star romance aesthetic. But at the same time, it also felt, I don't know, it felt a little out of place too with what else they were trying to do. But
can you guys talk a little bit? You mentioned the '94 remake, so I haven't seen it. Like, how close are they? Because again, based on what I have in my real or fake memories of the '94 version, I would have never guessed that this is what this movie was about.
I would say that at least early on, like the opening scenes are almost beat for beat. You know, it's like he's at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, Santa Claus there. You gotta remember it's Richard Attenborough, so it's that different in that respect. Obviously it's in color, but like he sees that the guy playing Santa in the parade is drunk and unruly, so he's like, you gotta get this guy out of here. And they're like, well, you sub in. He does, and he does the same thing. He has the same storyline unfolds where he keeps recommending other stores that have the toys that Macy doesn't have. Macy's at first, the employees are like, we can't do this, but then like Macy's like, no, it's a great idea. We're gonna be the place that cares more about the customer than the profit, and it's gonna be this great campaign. You know, like all that stuff's the same. And then the way it kind of gets into the courtroom drama aspect of it, it follows the same beats, but it's just a little bit more fleshed out in some places. There is a different version of the Dutch scene. In my opinion, maybe better. So I don't know. What do you think, Josh?
I would agree with what you said. I do think overall, and I need to rewatch it, but I don't think it's as I don't think it's as strong in its message as this original version. I think it has a softer take on the capitalist message or the consumerism message. Like, it's still there, but it's like it's got a shine to it. It's like, what if
they put some commercialism on?
Yeah, it is because
we can't call out commercialism too much. How are we going to make our money?
Well, and honestly, you have to have that conversation a little bit because it is a remake, and they knew it was a remake when they were doing it. It's written in part. The remake was partially written by John Hughes, which is another reason I almost picked it, because we were on a John Hughes kick.
Yeah, and
he was aware of that when he was writing it, that it was going to be basically impossible to please people. But it feels more authentic, this original one, just because it's like, this is the message that they wanted to tell. And then in 1994, they just wanted to tell that again.
I think that a lot of focus shifts towards Mara Wilson's character as this little girl. Like, obviously, Susan, the character that Santa and like the family's interacting with, she's a part of it. But there's a little bit more, like, from a little bit more of the movie is seen from her perspective, I think, or at least it takes they try to show a little bit more of it from her perspective. I do think Richard Attenborough is, I think, a commendable performance, and at least I think it does a good job of being worthy of this performance. Maybe it's not an Academy Award winning.
I think it's also just a little more clear that one is meant more for kids to enjoy and watch. Like, there's no way a child, even in 1947, would probably enjoy this movie. But because Mara Wilson is more centered in the 94 version, and it's a little more about a kid's belief in Santa, it's less about the kids in this one and more about, like, why won't you adults just shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
Like, it's less about it. So it's just slightly different, I think, in that regard.
Yeah, I'd like to give it a shot. We're past Christmas, so maybe next year I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I might fit it in.
But as you said, this would go on to win
a few Oscars.
Gwenn would go on to win Best Actor in a Supporting Role. It won Best Writing, Original Story, and Best Screenplay, and then was nominated Best Picture.
I believe it lost to a movie called Gentleman's Agreement, which starred Gregory Peck.
And Gregory Peck, one of the big stars of the 40s.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's do our ratings and reviews. I'll go first since this was my pick. I thought it was good, but I don't know that I thought it was great good. Mm-hmm. Like, especially when I compare it to other movies of the era, like It's a Wonderful Life, which we did last year, which is a pretty perfect movie. But this is still really good. So I think I'm going to give it 4 stars.
I'm going to agree with you, Josh, and give it 4 stars. Like, I think it is a really solid movie. It's a great Christmas movie. I don't hold it in as high a regard as I do some others. Yeah. So, like, it's a 4.
Yeah.
My first time, had no idea this was what it was going to be. None whatsoever. When it turned into the courtroom drama, I went, what? Also, we got the origin story of Grandpa Joe from our Willy Wonka episode. Y'all catch him? He was the one who had the idea about sending all the letters to the courtroom. Did you see that?
That was him?
Guy? That was Grandpa Joe.
Fuck off.
That's so crazy.
I recognized his voice, and I was like, I know who that is. And I went through the whole dang credits. And I was like, no way.
That actor is going to make our Letterboxd Wrapped now because we watched 2 movies with him. Oh, my gosh.
The thing that impressed me about it was not necessarily the acting or, the performances or anything like that. It was the message that it delivered in 1940. Yeah. And it was the authenticity that they brought to the Santa Claus character of just like, this is Santa, and this is how Santa would be, and this is what's missing from Christmas in general. And to see that in 1947, and to have felt that when I was a kid, and to living in 2026 now. So I respect that a lot. I'm going to give it 4.5, just because it was my first time to see it, and to be really impressed with it. And so I think that the message itself is just so strong that it earns that little half star from me.
All right, well, let me look through some of the most popular Letterboxd reviews here. I've got them pulled up. 5 stars. Every movie should become a legal thriller in the 3rd act. It always works. I agree with that one. 3.5 stars. I am so Kris Kringle in the sense that I am also an alleged mentally ill person. 4 stars. I too refuse to believe in Santa until he buys me a house. Ball is in his court now. And then finally, 3.5 stars. You're telling me that you'll tell your You're telling me that you'll tell your child there's no Santa Claus, but you'll let her hang out with the adult man neighbor on her own? Yeah. 1947 was absurd.
Mm-hmm.
That's a valid critique.
I wondered if that was going to be an interesting point for people.
I guess it was, at least on Letterboxd. People thought that. All right. Do you guys want to the game's over, but do you want to guess?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, let's guess. Obviously, the points won't matter. It's kind of like Whose Line. But Garrett is the Letterboxd champion for those who haven't listened to the last few weeks. Garrett won during the lost episode of Scrooged. He put himself mathematically out of reach. And
then he destroyed the episode.
Yeah, and then he destroyed all the evidence. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it means a couple years down the road we could do Scrooged again if we want.
I've got your concession speech. I just don't have my victory speech.
That's true.
Although I didn't lose. I mean, I wasn't defending. I know. You were the defending.
Yes.
Anyhow, my guess for Miracle on 34th Street is going to be a 3.9.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to stick. I think it's going to be a 4. I think that it will have crossed that threshold.
No direct hits this time.
Did you guess?
Why should I?
Yeah, because it's fun.
Well, I already saw the
He
answer,
already
so
knows
I'm
the
not
answer
gonna.
now.
Fair enough.
I already saw the answer. No, well, once I lost, what do I play anymore? No direct hits. You guys did overshoot though, so David's going to be the winner on the technicality. But you were very close. It's 3.8.
Okay.
3.8.
Yeah.
3.8.
I will take the points.
Exactly.
It makes this, because like it's like when you watch a blowout football game, but the other team scores a bunch in garbage time.
Yeah.
It makes it look like it was only like a 10-point game,
There you go.
Like, so that's our final scores of the year. It's Garrett 24, me 21, Josh 14.
All right. Well, that'll do it for us. So Many Santas, and to cap off 2025. Actually, I believe we'll be back next week with our end of the year recap. We'll be starting the year with a Rob Reiner month, probably in February. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe, SoManySequels.com. Go to Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts from.
Yeah, in the meantime, go listen to our past episodes. We have 8 seasons of this crap.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. I'm
And
glad.
we go through some changes.
I'm personally glad that it exists because, a lot of people give up on their projects when, usually like 30 minutes in.
We got some wonderful feedback on our YouTube channel, which you should go subscribe to. That was basically like, you guys have like so many videos and nobody's watching. Well, I don't really care. This is not for you.
Oh, I hope. Did somebody actually say that? What a jackass.
Yeah, this is for us. If other people want to watch, that's on them.
The whole point. Listen, you can't all be Mr. Beast. There has to be us too.
Yeah.
We will figure it out, all right? Our prime is coming.
Persistency is key. Somebody's going to be like, oh my God, these guys are so stupid and they have 8 years worth of us being able to track, and then they're just going to like take it off.
Imagine
the first 3 years or so aren't even on video. So,
and then, whatever we're doing then that makes us pop off will be swiftly canceled probably by something that was recorded in the last 8 years.
For sure.
There's a great episode of us somewhere saying this COVID thing's going to blow over. So
Oh yeah,
we'll
by
see.
Easter. That would be a terrible year to re-listen to. Anyway, don't go back to 2020. Listen to any other year but that one, I would say, or do it. I don't care. Anyway, we'll be back next week. Let us know what your favorite movies of the year are. That's what we'll be talking about. So, start making your lists. I think it's the first week of January when Letterboxd is going to drop their year-end wraps. So we'll all have our wraps then to talk about. It's going to be fun. So we'll see you then. Bye.